Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my October wrap up. Today is October 31st, Halloween, so happy late Halloween since this is going to be going up after Halloween. I read a total of 8 books this month, which is honestly really good for me. I was in a pretty big reading slump last month and in the beginning of this month up to like the middle of October, and so I was thinking, oh, that's probably like all I'm gonna read, you know. I didn't really feel like reading anything else, but then I started like a few other books and I was actually into those and I read those pretty quickly, so I got through a lot more books than I like thought I was going to, which I'm glad. But some of them weren't on my TBR, which is fine. I never stick to a TBR anyway. I'm a mood reader, so I just like, you know, just pick whatever I'm feeling. So I'm gonna be showing the books I read. I'm gonna mention a book that actually I'm in the middle of. So, the book that I'm in the middle of is Crush by Tracy Wolff. This is the second book to Crave, and honestly, I don't know how I feel about this. I think I've talked about it before. I'm not really sure how I feel about the direction the author is taking this book. I actually started this book at the beginning of this month because I got it like the last day of September, and I started reading it in October, and I was like flying through it, like I'm literally at the end. But then the beginning of October I was just like, no, I don't like the way this is going, so I just stopped and I haven't even touched it. I have the audiobook, so I'm hoping to maybe finish it today just so I can get through it, because I kind of already know how it ends. I just kind of want to see like the lead up and everything. There's gonna be 2 other books, so I think I might continue in this series just to see how it, like, which direction it goes, and if it changes the direction again, because it could. There's 2 books left, and then I just want to see how like the whole series ends, and if I actually like the ending, then maybe. But I don't like the direction it's going in, or I'm not sure. Like, I have mixed feelings and opinion about how the direction is going. So right now I feel like this series is a standalone. Like, I like the first one and that's like the only one for me, but if I don't like the rest, I'm just gonna stick with the first one and be like, what, this isn't a series, it's just a standalone. Because I only like that one so far. So I might finish this one this month or next month, I'm not sure. Let's get into the books I actually did finish reading this month. So the first one is Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness. This is the second book in the All Souls trilogy. Yeah. And I loved it. Even though it's like pretty thick and pretty like dense. It's really dense, but I really enjoyed it. I love how it has like history and science, but also like the romance and the paranormal stuff. I just love it. This one is set in the past. I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to spoil the series, but I absolutely love this, and I'm about to read the third one to finish off the series, and I just love this series. I would totally recommend you to check this out. I'm just starting the show. I watched the first season. I think the second season is about to come out, so I can't wait for that. The next book is another sequel, and that is The Dam by Renée Ahdieh. This is a sequel to The Beautiful, which everyone has mixed opinions about, but I absolutely love this series. Like, it's at 1800s, right? Set in New Orleans, and it has vampires and werewolves and, you know, all that paranormal stuff. But people didn't really like the first one because, yes, it was marketed as a vampire book, but there wasn't like a lot of vampires in the first one, which I get that, but at the same time I loved it because it is a lead up to the series that has more vampires and stuff in it. And the first one was just so mysterious, and like you didn't know what was going on. Like, that's kind of what kept me going, was because I wanted to know what was going on, because it was so mysterious and you're like, what the heck is going on? And then like it was hinting at like vampires and stuff, but you just wasn't sure who were vampires, who were humans, who were good, who were bad, like all that. So it was just, I love that aspect. And then this one was like even more, I don't even know how to explain it. Just like the world just expanded even more. You learn more about like this whole other world that's within like our world, sorta, and all these other supernatural beings. I think there's even like fae in here, and it's just like so good. I can't wait for the third one. I like need it now. I loved it. Everyone should totally check this out. I don't think it would be for everyone, but if you can get past the fact that the first one may not have like a lot of vampires at first, then you may like it. This one had more vampires. The next one I read was Paranoid by Lisa Jackson. This one, I was kind of like in a reading slump, and I just kind of wanted more of a thriller, and I started this one and I actually was so hooked. Like, it's actually like pretty big. It's over 400 pages, I think, around there, and it just, I flew by. I pretty much read it in like a day or two, and I just flew by this. I absolutely loved it. I tried vlogging with reading this book, so I don't know if that vlog is gonna go up or not, but I have a lot of my thoughts on there because it's my first time vlogging, so it's not the best, so I might still just post it, but I also might just try again and wait. But anyway, I kind of predicted something, and which was kind of true, but I guess I was too, it's really complicated. But also too, at the end, it was like one of those where, like, yeah, you found out like who the killer was, especially for like the past one, the past crime too, and the current crime that's in here, like the 20 years ago crime, and then 20 years later that crime. But, and the readers know kind of like the motive or like why, but the characters, like, it ends before they kind of like figure out. Like, some of them are like kind of like suspicious or kind of want to find out, so they're hinted like that they're going to find out, but it just ends. And I don't know, but I kind of called more the motive, but then I guess that kind of led to like the killer. But it was like right at the end, it was like 40 pages left, and that's kind of like when I called it, because like something kind of well, I kind of had an idea about something, but not because of the killer, but because something was hinted at. So I was like, is that gonna be because of that? And then something happened like 40 pages near the end, and then I kind of put it all together, and I was right. But I don't know, this one was just really good. I really enjoyed it for an adult thriller. I'm kind of picky when it does come to adult thrillers, because I'm still kind of new to the genre, so some of them I haven't really liked. I guess more the psychological thriller, it's harder for me to get into, but more like murder mystery thrillers, which, I mean, I guess it kind of did have more also to some psychological thrillers, because like the main character was dealing with a lot of mental health thing, because the one that died in the past from the crime in the 20 years ago was her half brother, my bad, and everyone thought she's the one that killed him. Even she thought that, but then the proof kind of said otherwise, and everyone had like different things, because it all happened like so fast, and she had like, she thought that she killed him by accident, not like meaning to, and everything. So it's been on her for 20 years. She's blamed herself for 20 years. She's dreamt about it for 20 years. Like, she hasn't been able to let it go. So it's like messed with her for 20 years. So it's really intense, but I loved it. Check it out. Next one I read, it was technically a reread in a series that I love, but I technically don't have the first and second book. I do have the third book, so I'm just gonna hold that up. I took off the dust jacket and it's back there, and I don't feel like getting it, so I'm just gonna hold up the rare book. It's The Queen of Zombie Hearts, but the first book is Alice in Zombieland, and the second book is Through the Zombieglass, and then the third one is The Queen of Zombie Hearts. There's a fourth one, Mad Zombie Party or something like that, but I associate the first three as like its own series. Like, the fourth one does follow kind of the events that happen in this series and kind of continue with the storyline, but it's from a different character's point of view. And I mean, I don't mind that. The book was actually really good. I just love this series better with this character point of view and all, so that one is really good, but I just like this one better. We read this series, and it was just such a fun time. I literally read them all in like, well, not all in a day, but each book I read in a day. So like for 3 days I read all these 3 books. I read the first 2 as ebooks, and it was just so fun to revisit that world. Like, it's not the best book, I will say that. It is cliche, cheesy, you know, but it was written in like early 2000s, I want to say. Okay, so yeah, this one was 2014, so the other ones were like before that, and they're not the best, but I do love the story, the plot line, the characters, the romance. I think rereading it, I think I solidified the second one is my favorite. I don't know, the second one, okay, I literally stayed up all night reading the second one. Like, literally all night, pulled an all-nighter, and because the second one just, like, hurts me, like, in a good way. It makes me feel all these feelings. It makes me want to cry. It makes me sad. It makes me happy. It makes me mad, angry. Like, it gives me all these emotions, and I just love it, and I couldn't put it down. I had to continue reading it. Even though I know what happens, I just love it. I love being back in this world, being back with these characters, you know. And this one, the ending is also too sad, but I don't know why I love the second one so much. It's just so much stuff happens. There's so much angst. It's just so good. But this one is really good too. I think this is probably like my close second. But then I also love the first one because the first one is just what starts it all. But I just think the second one is probably one of my favorites. And then the first and third is probably a close tie because I can't decide. I love them all. So I'm so glad I reread this. And it's about zombies, if I haven't mentioned what it's about. The main character, Alice, she, on her 16th birthday, her whole family basically dies in a car accident. Her mom, dad, and little sister. And her dad, growing up, they always thought her dad was like paranoid, crazy, mad, like, because he always said like there's these monsters out there, but like her mom never saw them, they never saw them, because like the dad always had them like locked up and like wouldn't let them go out after dark, or like, you know, and like taught them kind of self-defense and all these other stuff, like really paranoid. And so they just thought he was crazy. But then that night that like they got in the car accident, she sees these so-called monsters, these zombies, and it just goes from there. She goes to live with her grandma and grandpa, and she goes to a new school and meets this group of people who also have the same skills as her, and it just starts this whole thing. It also has this this company, like this, it's Enigma Industry. It kind of reminds me of Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil. It's a little different, but it does remind me because they're kind of like the bad guy, and they're like you know, but yeah, it's different, but it just kind of a little bit reminds me of that. So, but I love this series so much. It has like a really deep place in my heart. I read it when I was pretty young, before I kind of started being more of an avid reader. I think it kind of got me more into reading, like, you know, avidly, and it just got me like loving books even more. And I don't know, it just kind of like started it all for me in a way. I mean, I was reading a little bit before that, but this book just really solidified my love for these type of books. I don't know, it's just, I love these books so much. I totally recommend checking them out. They're not for everyone, so go in knowing that, but, and knowing that they're cheesy. No, not the best, but they're like a guilty pleasure to me. I just love them so much. The next one is, actually I read a graphic novel. I don't have it, but I read it like from Libby. It's Saga Volume 3, and I like read the first two actually last year, and I completely forgot about it, but I was kind of in the mood for a graphic novel, so I was like, let me see, and I went on Libby and I actually saw it. I was like, oh wait, which one am I on? So I looked and I was on Volume 3, so I decided to continue with it, and I'm really liking this series. It's like a sci-fi, but like really adult, so keep that in mind. It's pretty adult, and it's just so good, like interesting, weird, but interesting. From what I remember, it's like these two different species, I guess. Like one's like kind of like, how do I say, like at odds with the other, I think. But like they fall in love and have a baby, but they're also two on the run because like that's not allowed or something. I kind of forgot. Don't really remember too much of like the first two, but enough to read the third one. and on, but I don't really know exactly the right way to explain it, but it is really good, so I would recommend you to check it out. But again, remember, it's pretty adult-ish, so just go in knowing that. And it's also kind of weird, but like in a good way. Last book I literally finished last night, and that is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesare. Is that how you say the name? Not sure. Okay, this is everything I wanted in this book. When I first saw this book and heard it and got of it, it just totally gave me the vibes of those 80s slasher films, and that's totally what it was, and I totally loved it. Like, it's not the best thing, but like, it's just an 80s slasher film. Like, what more do you want? Like, I love that. I was literally watching Friday the 13th, and I just wanted more of like that aspect. And there's like Nightmare on Elm Street, like, you know, just a slasher film, and this was totally that. So it's this girl and her dad moves to this small town, I think Kettle Springs. Yeah, Kettle Springs. And in this town, there's like kind of like this war going on with the older generation and the newer generation. How the old generation kind of wants things to be the same, to be kept the same and everything, but the new generation wants things to be more modern, more new, more improvised, you know, kept up with the times and sort of. And so there's this like fight going on, and because like the new people, or not, the older generation thinks that the newer generation is what's wrong with the town or whatever, and like there's these group of kids that are always playing pranks and filming it and videoing it, and just kind of the adults think that they're like kind of like terrorizing them or whatever, and it's like the other way around for them. So it's like a whole thing, and then the main character gets like all wrapped up in it. And then one night at a party, there's a killer clown, and it just goes from there, and a lot of people die. Some people survive, but it's slasher. And that's all I wanted in this book, was like to give me the vibe of an 80s slasher film. And that's totally what I got. I had heard, before I read this, I was like hearing some reviews that it is slow and that you don't see clown until probably like 100 pages in. But like, honestly, all the 80s slasher films are always so slow at first until it gets to the killings, and then that's when it starts getting good. And honestly, this actually goes by pretty quick. Even like the first 100 pages where you don't really see like the clown or everything, it kind of gives you a backstory of the town and kind of like the issues that they have with the old generation, the new generation, they're like kind of like war. And I just love that, because you get more like background and more kind of see what's going on, and then maybe kind of connect the dots with everything, and then you get to the action. But it doesn't feel slow, at least to me. Kind of felt fast-paced during like the slow parts, during like the parts with the background or whatever. It still felt kind of fast-paced. Or like finally when I got to the part with the clown, and like when it got to the part, I was like, already? Like, it did seem pretty quick, because it is a YA, so it does seem pretty quick, and it's honestly not that long. The ending is pretty good too. Like, I don't know, there's the whole thing was actually really good, and just all what I wanted, an 80s slasher film. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. My dad. That is all for my October wrap up. I actually read a pretty decent amount, and I'm happy with all the books I read. It was a pretty good reading month. I would say so. Like, there were books that I would wish I had gotten to, but you know, that's okay. I'll either read them next month or throughout the year. Like, honestly, I know people like save some of their books for like spooky season, but a lot of those books I will read any time of the year. I just love those books. Like, those are the books I read. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Bye.